Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial we are going to go over and complete our full stack series using FastAPI, Redis and Nextjs. So in this tutorial we are going to go ahead and create the front end. In the last tutorial we created the back end. We are able to make requests to the API, and the API was able to make responses and stuff like that, and all the information was stored in the cloud using Redis Cloud. So in this tutorial we are going to go ahead and create the front end application. We are going to have where the front end is basically what the user is going to see, right? So yeah, if you're new to the channel, please kindly consider subscribing, liking this video and sharing this content with anyone who you think might find this helpful. Let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to go we need to get started is we need to go ahead and install Nextjs, because we're going to be using Nextjs for the front end, as I told you in the intro at the project demonstration. So let's go ahead and first have a Next install. But before we do that, let's just go back into our terminal. So I'm just going to go back into our terminal, and if I do an ls, this is where we had yesterday's, right? So I want to go ahead and create a folder. So I'm going to use mkdir and I'm going to call it the front end. Okay, so I'm going to have that front end folder, and in this front end folder, that's where we're going to keep our front end project, right? So I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to simply change my directory into my front end. So now that I'm in front end, I'm in my front end folder. I'm simply going to go ahead and use an yarn to install Nextjs. So you can feel free to use you can use things like what is called npn if you want, but I'm going to use this yarn. Yarn is much I like yarn much more compared to npn, so I'm going to be using yarn to get the development our environment set up. So I'm going to go and simply go to the offshore documentation, which is next.org, nextjs.org, and you can just go to nextjs.org and you'll be able to see this page right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the documentation section, and this way you get go to the getting started section, and I'm going to go ahead and simply copy this, and this is what we use to install Nextjs, create a Nextjs application. If you want to use npn, you can just use this npn command if you want, but I'm going to be using yarn, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go press the wrong key. So let's make sure that I copy that. So I'm going to say Control C, okay, copy that, and then go into the terminal and then simply paste that in here, and then full stop. So press enter. This is going to go ahead and install the Nextjs setup for us, and then from there we can get started. So you have to wait for this to get completed, and then we can continue with the video. Yeah guys, you can see we have Nextjs already installed over there. So let's look at what Nextjs provides us. So we have yarn. We can simply start the application using yarn start. We have yarn build, yarn start, and then also have yarn dev. Okay, so what you're going to be interested in to run our application in development mode is yarn start. So I'm going to do yarn and then dev. Okay, so if you're on npm, you have to use npn run dev, and that should run the local host. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and simply go into my sorry, I've hit the wrong key. So I'm going to run the command again. So clear the terminal and then run that yarn dev again. So I'm going to copy this. So this is the location where on the route or the port on which the application is running. So I'm going to copy this and simply go into my browser. I'm using Google Chrome, so feel free to use any browser that you want, and simply paste this in here, paste it in there. And once you have it pasted in there, you can just press enter, and that should simply load up the page and display to us what we have. So this is what we have after installing Nextjs application. So great. So I have the basic setup. So now let me open up this in using Visual Studio Code so we can begin to code. So I'm going to stop my development server, clear the terminal, and simply open up Visual Studio Code. I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code, and this will just pop up in just in a second. So Visual Studio Code has already opened up, so let's just wait for it to load, and then we can begin to code. So I'm just going to explain for you the basic structure of a Nextjs application, and from there we begin to actually write the code. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up. I don't need that information right there. So this is what we have after creating a Nextjs app. So we have the next, and then we have the module, the node modules, and if you ever work with JavaScript or React or anything like that, we are familiar with the node module. So this is some information for different libraries to use and other stuff like that. Don't worry about what the node module is. So I also have the page folder. So the page folder is where we keep our different route information. So if you create any JavaScript here and it's going to be a route, you can access it using the front end. Okay, so if you have the index.js file, and the index.js file, we are able to access it, and this is what shows up the content of this page. So this is what displays the content of this page right here, is controlled by this part here called index.js, and this is the first page that loads whenever you have a React application. So if you want to add any any other file in here, it's going to be able to access it towards by using the browser. Okay, this is very different from React itself, where you have to use different things like React router DOM in order to create all this navigation and all this complexity. Nextjs just simplifies everything for us. So I can just simply go in here, and I'm simply going to create an app here. I'm going to simply call it file. I'm going to call it about.js, and in about.js we can simply store in our content in here. So any content we store in here in about.js, we can go to the front end. You can just simply say about /about, and you'll be able to have access to it. So I'm going to say about.js, and in about.js you can just create a simple component and then return that component. So I'm going to create that component here. So I'm going to say export default, and this is going to be a function. So a function, and it's going to call it about, and then this function is just going to return something to us. So return this function is going to return the following. So we're going to return something, right? So we're going to return just a h3 tag, and you're going to say hello world, world. Let me just say hello world about page, just like that. So this is all we need to return the about page. So we're going to export a default, and you're going to simply return it. So if I go in the browser, let's check if our server is running. Our development server, we have stopped it, so we're going to simply run again, yarn dev. And now once it's running, we can go into the browser, and in the browser we can be able to access that endpoint. So in here, I'm just going to go in here and simply type in /about, and I'll be able to have access to that page. So I'm going to type in /about here, and I can just simply press enter, and that should be able to get access to the page that we want to get access to. So about, and then I simply press enter. So this is going to return to us the about page that we just created. So let's just wait for it to load. My PC is a bit slow when I'm recording a video, so kindly bear with me about the speed. So once we okay, the server is still loading up, and once the server is loaded up, you're going to be able to access the about page, and it should just return to us hello about. So you can see you are able to get access to this. So if I zoom in, you can see we have hello about page, and this is what we intended to return, right? So that's how we can deal with different routing information in Nextjs. So it's very simple compared to React, where in React you have to do a lot of complicated stuff to get things done. Okay, so yeah, that's all we need to do to return a different route. Also, you have this folder inside of the apps folder called API, and this way you can run your different API. So you can write an API here. For example, we have this hello API, hello.js file that consists of an API, and you can access this API information in the front end. So if you want to create your own API application, then you can use Nextjs to do that as well. So I'm just going to clear the terminal and then run this as well. So run the server again. So run the development server, and if I go into my browser and did localhost at port 3000 / which is this endpoint right here, /API /hello world, and hello world is the name of this file. Sorry, not hello world, hello.js is the name of this file right here. We'll be able to access this endpoint. It's going to return to us a JSON of name, and then name as name map to John Doe. Okay, so I can just go in here and then simply type in the following. So I can just type in API /hello, just like that, and press enter. And once I have once I press enter, I'll be able to access the API information. You can see we have the API information right here, so you can just simply zoom in so that you guys can see. You can see we have that API information right here. So I have a custom library or a framework, whatever you call it, that customizes my JSON files like this. So if yours doesn't appear like this, then no worries, it's still fine. Okay, so once I have that done, we can go back and let me just continue explaining to you the structure of a Nextjs application. So let's go into our code.vs code. So I've explained everything inside of the in the pages folder, but if you go inside of the page.index, in page.index is where we have this code right here, and this code you shouldn't delete it, you shouldn't try to tamper with this code, or else your application will just crash. So this simply samples every of the components together, and then simply renders all of them together. So every of those components is passed as a prop, and this page is what handles rendering all of those. So don't in any way mess with this file, just leave it as it is. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this, and also we have public folder right here. So public folder, anything you keep inside the public folder is publicly accessible in the browser. So if I go to localhost at port 3000 /vassal.svg, I'll be able to access this. Okay, so let me just start my development server again, run my development server, and I can simply just go inside of the browser. So once my server is set up, I can go inside of the browser, and I can just simply type in here vassal I think it's vassal.svg. Okay, and then press enter. I think it's vassal. Let me just check the name of that file. So the name is okay, vassal.svg. so it's with a C and not an S. Okay, sorry for that. So I'm just going to go in here and then change this to be a C and then run that. So this is return to us that svg image right here. And Vassal is a company that created Next.js. Okay, so Nextjs is just built on top of React, and the company that built it is called Vassal. Okay, so now once we have that done, this is what the public folder does. And so if you want to keep images, anything that you want to access publicly, you can use in the public folder. And also we have the styles folder, and inside of the styles folder we keep our different style components, such as the CSS and all that styling information. So in here, whenever you want to create your own custom file, there's a naming convention you have to follow. Okay, so you have to say the name of a file that you want to create, right, and then .module.css, just like the way home.module.css. If you want to create your own custom one, it must be maybe you want to call it about page. So about page.module.css, so that to contain the CSS to handle the about page, right? So you have to name it the name of the file, any name, and then .module.css. So it must end with .module.css for it to work. Okay, so great. So that's all the styling information. About the global file, global styles is something that is used in, if I go to pages, is something that is used only here by this underscore app.js. So if you want to create your own, just give it a name and then .module.css. Okay, so that's the basic structure of a Next.js application, and we went over all of that information. So let's begin to create our own application. So to create our own application, I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and I'm going to simply call this folder. I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call the folder. I'm going to call the folder components, and it's going to be in the root directory of our application. I'm going to call it components. Components. That's the name of our folder. So instead of components, I'm going to have a layout component. So I'm going to call it layout.js. So it's a naming convention that all your components must start with an uppercase. Okay, so that's why layout is capitalized. Okay, so L is capitalized in layout. So layout, the layout page, you're going to use it to control our layout, and so you don't have any issues dealing with layout and stuff like that. So I'm going to be using that component to control the layout of our page. So in here, I'm going to just create a simple component that is going to control the layout. Okay, so I'm going to say const, and then I'm going to say layout. And this is going to be an arrow function. You can use a sync if you want, but I'm not going to use a sync. I'm just going to use a normal arrow function here. So I'm just going to go ahead and return. So this is going to return, so return, and it's going to return the following. So I'm going to go ahead and pass in a fragment here, just a fragment, and then instead of the fragment, I'm going to have a div. So div, and instead of this div, I'm going to pass in a class. I want to pass in a class, so I'm going to go ahead and import the styling that we have here on the home page. This styling right here, I want to go and import and use it. So I'm going to simply go ahead and import that style and use. I'm going to import styles, and I'm going to import it from this is going to be from dot styles, and then it's going to be /home and then dot module .css, just like that. So we're going to import the style here, and we can simply go ahead and use it here. So you say class name, and the class name is going to be the following. So the class name is going to be styles.container. So it's going to be container, and the container is what is going to host all of, it's going to house all of our other components. Okay, so we're going to have another div here, and this div we can give it a class called main. So class name, and the class name here we're going to give it a class name of styles.main. So styles.main, just like that. All we need to have that setup. So that's all we need to have that setup. So okay, now that we have this, I can simply just go in here, and let me stop my development server for just a second, because we're not going to be using the server anytime soon. It makes the recording a bit sluggish, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop that development server. Okay, so stop it, and I'm just going to clear the terminal. So I'm going to stop it and then clear the terminal right there. So back here, and we just have those components right here. So we're going to take a bunch of components, and all those components are going to be rendered inside of this div container and then a main class. Okay, so we're going to pass in those children as a component. So we're going to say children, and the children are going to simply pass it here. So we're going to simply say pass it here, and then simply say space, and then just say children, just like that. So that's all we need to have this. So now we can go ahead and export this. So we're going to say export export default. It's going to be a default export. We're going to call it layout. Okay, we're going to export the layout function right here. So that's all we need to have that layout being exported. So great. So now I can just simply go inside of my index.file, my index in my pages folder. I'm going to go inside of my index.js file. So inside of my index.js file, I'm going to delete everything except one part here. So I'm going to delete everything here all the way up here until here. So delete all of this. So let me explain to you what this head means. So just like in HTML, normal HTML, we have the head tag, right? So this is the same as the head tag where you keep all your meta information. Now, one of the disadvantages of React is that it does not handle all this meta information that can be used for SEO, search engine optimization. So this is one of the shortfallings of React, and Nextjs solves that problem for us. So we can use meta information inside of our applications. That makes our applications more SEO friendly, so applications and content online can be found by search engines and other stuff, and web scrapers and web scrollers, and all that information can be provided to them by using the head tag. So I'm going to go ahead and create my own custom head tag. Just create a component that deals with this head tag, because we have to copy and paste this code in every file, and that can be tedious, right? So let's go ahead and create a component to do that for us. So I'm going to create a component here, and I'm going to simply call it meta.js. So in meta.js we can keep our components information. So to do that, I'm simply going to copy and paste it from my GitHub repository, and that saves us a lot of time. So this is going to go in here and just simply go and find that component and simply paste it. This can help us to save a lot of time. I don't want you guys to watch me type out that whole thing, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. It's quite very simple. It's just like HTML in fact. So I'm just going to copy this and copy it. I'm going to copy this and simply go back in here and simply paste it in here. So that's all I needed to do for that to work. So you can this is just a component, a React component. It takes in the props, title prop, the keywords prop, and the description prop. So here I just went ahead and passed in the default props information. If you want, you can go ahead and pass your own default prop information if you want, but this is just the default prop information that I passed. So we have the title as full stack to-do list, and then the keywords for search engine optimization, and then also the description of the website. So all those are passed in. So the title gets passed in, the keywords they passed in, and the title. Okay, so instead of using this, instead of having this here, we're just going to go ahead and delete it, and yeah, that's all we're going to do. And we don't need any of this anymore since we are not using them. So I'm just going to delete this. So great, we don't even need the styling here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and import meta. I'm going to import meta just like this, and it's going to be from .components/meta. So I can just go ahead and use the meta right here. So I'm just going to create a fragment here, and then I'm going to copy all of this and then move it inside of the fragment, and above this I'm going to simply keep that meta tag. So I'm going to that meta thing. So I'm going to simply have it here. So I'm going to pass in the title. So it takes in a couple of props, right? So I can pass in the title, the keyword, and the description, and this will be unique for each page. It will override the default setting. But for now, we can just go ahead and say the title, and the title is going to be a string, and it's going to be index page, just like that. So that's how you can pass in that prop information. So I'm just going to go ahead and I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to delete this right here. Delete it. We don't need it anymore. So great. So that's all we need to have that working. So yeah, so let me just close this browser for now. Okay, so that's all we need for this to work. So we can pass in the title, the prop information, the search engine, and meta information, just like that. So let's go ahead and also use this for other pages, because we don't have to import this into every page if you don't want to update it. We only want to import it when we want to override the default setting. Okay, so let's keep it inside of the layout so that other pages can have access to it in case we don't want to update their own meta information. So we're going to import meta, and then you're simply going to use it up here. So instead of this fragment, I'm just going to keep it here, and I'm going to say meta, just like that, and then simply close that off. So if you didn't provide it, then you need to use this default meta, and if you provide it like in this page right here, it will override the content right here, and it will override this one, and it will use the meta that we provide here and not the default one that we specified here. So great. So now let's see how we can use the layout inside of our application and see how we can use meta inside of our layout. So we just go into our apps, our underscore app.js inside of our apps file. So this is I say that this is the place that assembles all the components and then displays them, right? So if you want to apply any layout to our page or to our web application, then we'll be doing that changes, those applications, those changes in here, or those layout information in here. So let's go ahead and import layout. So to import layout, and you're going to import layout from .components/layout, and I'm going to go ahead and display the layout here. So instead of just returning these components, I'm just going to go ahead and return actually a fragment. So I'm going to go ahead go ahead and have this here, and I'm simply going to move this inside of this, and above this I'm going to have a fragment, and this way that we're going to keep our components yeah. So actually we don't actually need a fragment, actually we need a layout component. So layout, just like that, and I'm going to close this off. So inside of the layout, that's where we're going to display all the components. So the layout can act the different components that can act as the child to this, and can be this child, and which we display inside of the div for the container and then div for the main. Okay, so now everything that we passed in, every component will be displayed inside of the layout information, right? So that's great. So that's all we need to do, and yeah, we can just go ahead and actually test our application and see if it works. But before we do that, let's go inside of this the index page, and then in here I'm just going to return a h3, and I'm just going to say hello world, just like that, and simply save it. Once I have that, I can simply go ahead and start my development server. I'm just going to run a yarn dev to run that development server. So once our server is started, I can just go inside of my browser, and inside of my browser I can go in here to localhost, and then simply get the root URL. So I'm just going to delete all of this and then simply press enter. So this localhost at port 3000. And one thing you can notice, the first thing you can notice is the title change, and the title is now index page instead of create next app. So it was previously next app, now it is index page, and you can see the hello world content being displayed in here. Yeah, so once we have that done, let's go ahead. I want to change a couple of things. I want to change the title of this to be instead of this, we're going to say full hyphen stack to do project. So full stack to do project. So just like that, and I also want to add with some styling. So if I go here and see yeah, it has changed, but I want it to be the title. So if you go inside of our home.module.css, which is some styling that comes with the Nextjs, we have the style here. I want to use this style. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up. I want to close also meta. We don't need meta anymore. We don't need this for now, and you also don't need layout. So index here, I want to go ahead and import the following. So I'm going to say import I'm going to import styles from, and then this is going to be /styles, and then /home. This is going to be home.module.css, just like that. So you can use it right here. So I can just give it a class name. So I can say class name, and the class name is going to be styles dot styles.tail, just like that. Styles.tail title, sorry, styles.title and not tail. So save that and then go and check this out. So you can see now that styling has been applied. Great. So we have all that setup done. So now what I think we want to go ahead and do is to create a form. So I want to create a form here whereby the user can fill in the form, and the form can get submitted, and then the to do created on the database, right, on the front, on the back end. So to do that, you're going to be using a couple of libraries. We're going to be using React. We're going to be going to ahead and use React-bootstrap for this. So we're going to be React-bootstrap, and just go to React-bootstrap install, search that on Google, and then click on the very first link. It should take you to the official page of React-bootstrap, and then here we can just go ahead and install the stuff that we need. So I'm just going to copy all of this. So I'm going to copy React, Bootstrap, and also Bootstrap. So I'm going to go ahead into my terminal and make sure that my server is stopped running, and then I'm going to say yarn add, and then I'm going to simply paste what I have copied there and simply run it. So this is going to install for us two things. It's going to install React Bootstrap, and it's going to also be it's also going to install Bootstrap itself. So let's go back to the page, and a couple of things we need to do. So we need to set up the CSS. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in the according to documentation. You need to put this in your app.js, and in app.js this is React, right, and its equivalent in Nextjs is underscore app.js, which is this file right here. So you can just go open this file and then keep that import right here. So paste that import there. So that's all we need to have that imported. So let's just wait for this to finish installing, and from there we can get started. You can see that the installation has been successful and has already been installed. So I'm just going to clear this, and I'm going to go ahead and get the form that we need. And you're going to be using the form in, let me just close this up. You're going to be using the form in our index right here. So we're going to place the form just below the title here. So let me just go and get the form information that I want to use. So I'm going to go into my repository, and you can find this repository. The link is going to be in the description. So I'm just going to go into my apps, pages, and in my pages I'm going to go into my index.js file. So in here I'm just going to go ahead and copy the form content. This is a form right here. I'm just going to copy it and we can use that one. So I'm going to copy it and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here and just fix that indentation. So I'm going to bring this one back, so just like that. And you can see we need to import a couple of things. All these are highlighted, so we need to import this from React-bootstrap. And if you go back to my repository, you can see I have imported them right here. So let me just copy this and I'm going to go ahead and simply paste it in here. So paste it in here. So we're going to be importing button, which you're going to be using right here. You're going to go ahead and also import form that you're going to be using right here. You're going to import row that you're going to use right here, and you're also going to import column that you're going to use right here. Again, we don't need this right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this for now. It's just an on-submit event, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now. So this is all we need for the form. Okay, so let me just make sure I save this, and I can go back inside of the terminal and make sure that our application is the server is started. And once the server is started, I can just go and access this inside of my browser. So once the application is started, I can just go inside of my browser and I'm going to go in here to our home page and simply hit on the refresh button. So it should refresh and to display it for us the form that you've just created using React-bootstrap. So if you can even go in here and search for a form yourself, and you get that information about the form, and you can get the information about the different forms that you can use when working with React-bootstrap. So React-bootstrap is just a library that is built on top of Bootstrap, but specifically for React applications. So now if I go here, you can see we have that beautiful form right here. So I can just simply type and you can see the content is being reflected. This is unlike in React, right? In React you have to write functions, states, do state management to create all of this, and even to show the changes taking place, right? Because you set the value to a certain variable that is a state component. Now in Nextjs you don't have to do that. It automatically handles that for you, so it's very intuitive to use and much easier to use compared to React, in my own opinion. Yeah, so let's go ahead and actually make sure that whatever is typed inside of this form, we actually get the information and then be able to post it or do whatever I want with the information. So I'm just going to keep an on click and on submit here. So I'm going to keep it on submit, and this is going to be a function. So I'm going to say create to do, or to do create, or let's say create to do, just like that. So I'm going to have a function here called create to do that is going to handle that on submit event. So I'm going to have a function here. I'm going to call it create to do, and this is going to be an arrow function we can use. So I'm just going to have an arrow function here, and this is going to pass in. So we're going to take in an event called an e. You can just give it any name, and you're going to prevent the default e.prevent prevent default. So it's going to prevent the default form action, so default, just like that. So we're going to prevent default. And now how do we get access to this form data, whatever information has been typed into the form? Okay, you can see we have control IDs, and these are just similar to having IDs in the normal HTML form. So this is the ID that we get, and you can use the ID to get the information here. So let's see how you can handle it. Unlike React, is very simple. So you can just do console.log. Let me just show you, and it's going to be e.target title, which is title is the ID for this right here, the ID for this, and I'm just going to get the value just like that. So this return to me the value of that form. Okay, so if I type in, if I go into, I can just go into inspect mode and I can inspect the pages from there. So I can go into inspect mode and I can just click on inspect, and this will open up the inspect mode, and I can be able to inspect the stuff from here. So let's go in here. Inside of the title, I can type in any of those content that I want. So I can just type in hello world, and just simply going to the console, and I want to see what's in the console. So if I execute this, you can see we have hello world. This is code with Prince, and you can just submit that, and you can see it's going to show up there. So great, everything works as expected, right? You're able to get access to that information that we want. So great. Let me just keep this in inspect mode for now. So let me just keep this in inspect mode. Yeah, so let it be there like that. So I can go back in here and I can get access to that information, and you're going to simply submit that information, make a post request to API to save that information on our API, right? So to do this, I'm going to go into my server, and then simply stop the server for now, and then stop the server, and I'm going to go ahead and install Axios. So I'm going to use Axios to make our post requests and different HTTP requests. Okay, so it's just a library that can okay, yarn, I forgot something, yarn add, and then Axios. So this library that is just JavaScript library that help us to make different post requests, talk to our APIs and stuff like that. So let's just install it. So it's just yarn add and then Axios. Okay, let's wait for it to get installed. So once you have Axios already installed, we can go ahead and begin to use it. So let's go into the terminal, because right now we have the form from the data, right? We need to now make a post request and then be able to send that information to the to-do. So let's go ahead and import Axios. So import Axios, Axios from Axios. So I'm going to import Axios from Axios, just like this. So once I have that imported, I can begin to use Axios down here. So I can just do Axios dot post. I'm going to send a post request, and this is going to HTTP and then // local host at port 8000, where our server is going to be running /to-dos to do. I think it's to-dos, yeah. And then here you pass in the object that you want to send. So you want to pass in that you want to send the title, and the title is going to be e.target title. So the title dot value, right? We want to send the title. We want to also send the description. So description is going to be e.target description, description, just like this, description dot value, just like that. And also we want to go ahead and also we want to send along the completed. So let's say completed, can just say completed here. So completed, and the completed is going to be false by default, because if you created to do, you haven't completed it by default. And then you're going to go ahead and also say the time, and the time is just going to be a date object right here. So great. So we're going to go ahead and send all that information to the backend, and the backend is going to now create this to do for us. So it's going to return a promise. So we're going to say .then, and then you're going to pass in a function here. So function, you're going to the function is going to accept the request, the response, the response, and you can simply console.log that response. Also, you can say console.log, you can just log the response out, just like that. So great. So once we have that, you can also do then catch. You catch any error. So catch, and then this catch takes in a function. So into the function that takes in the error, and it's just simply going to console.log that error, console.log, and then you pass in the error. So that is going to log the error in case we have any error. So great. So once we have all of that done, just go ahead and try this out and see. So what I have to go ahead and do is simply run my develop front end. So yarn, and then simply run dev. So while this is running, we also need to go ahead and start our server, because we're going to make a request to HTTP localhost at port 8000 /to-dos, right? You need to have that running as well. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to simply activate my virtual environment. My virtual environment is already activated here, so you can just activate the virtual environment doing source /vnv and then activate your virtual environment. So in there, I'm going to simply write my front end application. So I'm going to say uvgon. So uvgon, and then we say app.main, and then you're looking for app, and then hyphen reload, just like that. You can simply run this. So it's going to run our development server, and our front end is already running, and this is going to be our back end. So let's just wait for that, all of those to start up. So the front end is running, and also the back end is about to start. The front end is already started, and the back end is also just starting up. So it has also already started up, the back end. So now let's go ahead and make the request. So I'm just going to make this request, localhost at port 8000. So you can see we have it loaded right here. So you can just also put this in inspect mode. So I can put it in inspect mode so you can see what is going on. So if anybody send a request, it's going to return to us the response, and you're simply going to console.log that response, right? So let's just go here and just simply add that to do here. So I'm going to say first to do, and then this is going to be first to do description. So that's to do description, just like that, and I can just simply press on this. So on submit, therefore this is going to get submitted, and let's check on the console to see what we have so far, and you can see it has been submitted, and the server has responded to us back with this information right here. So if I check on the data section, we can see we have completed. This is no false, description is this one, the primary key, the time, and then the title of that to do. So great. The to do is everything works as expected, as we expected to work. So as we expected it to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop the front end for now, and then I'm going to go ahead now. Instead of just returning this, I want to actually make a pop-up to tell the user that the to-do has been created. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and install another library, and this is going to be a Sweetalert. So Sweetalert. So Sweetalert, we can enable Sweetalert, which is going to enable us to make pop-ups and stuff like that. So let's see what we need to have Sweetalert installed. So we need to install this, and if you are using npm, you just copy all of this. So I'm using Sweetalert, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this part. I'm just going to go in here and then simply say I'm just going to say yarn add, and then this is going to be Sweetalert right here, and then simply run that. So it's going to add Sweetalert to our package, and to import and use it, you have to go ahead and simply copy this right here. I'm just going to copy this and copy it, and I'm going to go in here and simply import it right here. So once I have Sweetalert imported, I can begin to use it here. So once the response is we got the response, it is going to do a Sweetalert, and then you can pass in an object. You can pass in the title of the Sweetalert with the pop-up, and this is the title is just going to be the following. So title, and the title can be anything, right? You're just going to say to do has been created. Okay, to do that, you say to do this is going to be a string, to do created. Okay, just like that. And you can have an exclamation mark there, and you can also pass in the text or the text of that pop-up, and the text is just going to be also a string. So to do task, I just say to do task has been created, just like that. And then you can also pass in the icon. Okay, the icon is just going to be a phone, so icon, and the icon is just going to be success, so success, just like that. So once we have that, that should now pop up the alert. And also I want to clear the form, because whenever we make a post request, we don't clear the forms. I want us to clear the form. So to clear the form, I'm just going to e.target target.reset, just like that, and this is going to clear the form. Okay, so we can even keep a comment here to clear the form. So clear form. Great. So let me check if you have okay, so Sweetalert has already been installed successfully. So if I go back here, I can also clear the form, and once I clear the form, I want to redirect the user back to the index page, because we're going to be using something called which is going to be called GetServerSideProps, and this is going to make a request on demand. So whenever we create a new to do, we want that to do to show up on the page. So the front end needs to make a request to the API and get the new request, the new to dos that have been created. The page can make a request to get the new to dos. We need to go ahead and import router. So we're going to import this is going to be called a use router. So it's going to be called use router, and you're going to import use router from sorry, it's going to be from, and you're going to import it from next /router, just like that. So once we have it, you're going to create an instance of it. I'm going to say const, and it's called router, and router is going to be use router, just like that. Create an instance of it. So down here, you're just going to go ahead and redirect the user. So it's going to be called router.push. You're simply going to push in the index page, right, so that the index page can refresh and then make those calls. Okay, this is only one. Okay, so the index page and the index page can refresh and then display that information. So this is going to make sure that we submit that information to the backend by using a post request, and then clear the form and then refresh the page. Now if you get to refresh the page, what you want to do at the bottom here, you want to have a function to get the information from the backend. So down here, I'm just going to go ahead and simply create that function here. So I'm going to say export, and then export, this is going to be export const, and this is going to be called get server. This name must be exactly as it is, so get server side props, and this is going to be an asynchronous function, async, and we're going to go ahead and have an arrow function right here. So instead of this arrow function, what you're simply going to do, you're going to simply say const, and you're going to get a response from the server, which is going to be await. You're going to await the fetch, because it's going to take some time. So fetch, and then you're going to simply say http :/localhost at port 8000, so 8000 /to-dos, and then you're going to get that response. And once we get the response, we're simply going to go ahead and get it in form of JSON. So const, you're going to go ahead and simply say to-dos, and these are going to be our to-dos, and it's going to be await. You're going to await this process of response.json, of converting it into a JSON. Okay, so get that. And once we get that, you're simply going to go ahead and return. You're going to return an object. So this is going to be a prop, an object, and an object you're going to pass in props. So you're going to pass in props, and the props is also going to be an object, and this is going to have to dos right here. So that's all we need to do to get that state prop. So now if you go back and refresh the page, now we should see that being that showing there. So I'm just going to clear the terminal and then simply run yarn dev again. So let's check if our back end is running, and our back end is running. Okay, so now we also have our front end, which is the starting up. So let's give it some time to start up, and once it's started, you can go ahead and make that request in the front end. So once it's already started, I can just go to the front end and then see, and then go back into our index page. In our index page, you can just simply okay, wait for it to refresh it on its own, and then I can just go ahead and refresh this, and let's see what we get back. So once we refresh this, this function which is called get state props is going to be called, and it's going to render, it's going to go ahead and get all the to-dos. So now we can pass in those to-dos in here inside of this function right here. So we can pass the to-dos inside of our function, and that function can use those to-dos later on. So we just go ahead and actually pass in here. So just go in here, and then in here we need to pass in a prop. So we need to pass in to-do just like that, to-dos, and then just like that. So pass in those to-dos. So this is going to get the to-dos, and then have to create a grid to this here. Local, say that localhost to-dos failed. Gets local, say that localhost to-dos failed. Gets freed. Okay, we have an error here, so let me just check where the error is. So it's actually localhost, not local, where the error is. So it's actually localhost, not local host. So let's actually change this here. So localhost. Okay, so once I have that changed, and I hope I haven't made any more errors, so let's wait for this and let's see what we get back. So we should get back those to-dos, and yeah, that should work. So once we have those to-dos, we should now go ahead and display those to-dos. So you can actually console log those to-dos, which is just this variable right here. You can console log it and then see what you have, right? But quickly, let's jump into the part where you need to create a grid and display those to-dos. Yeah, so let's go ahead and create a grid to display the different to-dos. So I'm going to go into my components, and I'm going to create in here, I'm going to call it to-do list. I'm going to call it to-do list.js. So instead of my to-do list.js, that's when I'm going to go ahead and create that grid to display the different to-dos. So I'm going to go ahead and import something. So I'm going to import styles. So I'm going to import styles from this is going to be dots from styles, right? Styles / it's going to be called home home.module module.css, just like that. So we need to import styles, and also need to go ahead and import yeah, that's what we need for now. So let's create the component that is going to be the grid. Okay, so we have to have const, and it's going to be called to do list, and this is going to be the following. So it's going to be an arrow function. It's going to take in it's going to take in a couple of, it's going to take in all the to-dos, so to-dos, and then this is going to be an arrow function. So we just have the arrow function here. So let's go ahead and actually export this. So export default, and the export default, we're going to export simply to do list right here. So let's go ahead and go ahead and return something. So we're going to go ahead and say return, and the return is going to be as follows. So we're going to go and simply return a div, and a div is going to be let me just create this div here. So it's going to have a div here, and a div is going to have a class of grid, right? If you go in here, you can find you have a class of grid right here. So if you go and scroll down, we have the grid class somewhere here. So yeah, I think this is a grid class right here. So we have the grid class there. So we just want to go ahead and use that class. So I'm going to say class name, and the class name is going to be the following. So it's going to be styles.grid. Okay, styles.grid, and then just like that. So once we have styles.grid created, that component created, we can just go ahead and return the different to-dos inside of here. So just going to pass in here. I'm going to say to do from to-dos.map, because you're going to go through all that to-dos, and then you're going to say for each to-do, you're going to pass the different component to render that to-do, right? So we're going to pass a different component to render that to-do. So let's go ahead and actually create this for now. So let's just say hello. Let's just put a h for now. We'll come back to this just in a second bit. So I'm just going to create another create another component here, and I'm going to call this to do item .js. Okay, so now that we have our to-do items created, I'm simply going to go to my GitHub page, copy the code, paste it here, and then explain to each part, because you have spent a lot of time already developing the front end. So I'm just going to quickly go into my GitHub repository. So I'm going to go into my GitHub repository, and I'm simply going to go into to-do items, which is under the components. I'm going to go into to-do items, which is this file that we just created right here, right? I'm just going to get the content and simply paste it in here so that we avoid wasting time, and I explain it to you quickly so that we don't keep the video too long. So I'm just going to copy this right here, and I'm simply going to go inside of my my VS Code and simply paste it in here. So what you're simply going to do, you have simply created a component called to-do item, and it takes in to-do as a prop, right? And you have we have this one use the router, which is going to make a request to the front to the index page in case we make any delete or any update information, right? So we have we have a simple div. We simply return a div, and this div has a class of style, and if the to-do is completed, you're going to simply pass in a delete line through the to-do title, else you're not going to pass a delete line through the to-do title, right? And then you're going to pass in to do the description, and then finally you're going to go have a class name here, and it's going to be a text muter, which is going to be the delete time. So if the delete is completed, right, you're going to have two buttons. If the delete is completed, that means the delete is true. Then you're going to have this button right here of class success, and if you click on it, it's going to go ahead and call this update functionality. And this update functionality takes in there to do the title, the description, the completed, and then the time, and then simply makes takes in a negator. This you have the negator operator here, so it negates the whether it's completed or not. So if you click it, it will negate the whether the to-do is completed or not. So basically meaning changing it into a true or changing it into a false, basically the opposite of whatever value it is. So if it is true, it will change it into a false. If it's false, it change it to a true. So it's going to toggle that completed value. And then if it's not completed, you have the this primary button, which is have a class of primary, and on click is also going to call the update functionality, and we're going to take in the to-do ID, because when calling the update functionality, we need to pass in the to-do ID so that the backend can know which API to update. Yeah, so that's basically it. And after it's done updating, we're going to simply have a sweet alert saying that to-do has been updated, has been updated successfully, and then the icon is success. Okay, and then you also have the delete button right here, and the delete button, whenever it's clicked, it's going to call, it's a class danger. These are just bootstrap classes, so it's going to be a red button. Whenever it's clicked, it's going to call this function to do delete to do, and it's going to take in the ID of the to do to delete, and it's going to make a delete request to the backend and passing the to do ID, and simply once it's deleted, you're going to say to do completed, to do deleted, and then the task has been deleted successfully, and then we have a danger. Okay, danger, I don't know if this is danger or was something else, I don't know. So let me know in the comment section when you think is danger or something else, so you can just Google that and find it out, because I'm getting some errors here. So let me just go ahead and let me actually look it here in Sweetalert. So let's see if we can get the danger one. So success, success, Sweetalert, there is a warning, there's also warning one, and then there is a, I can't find the one for success. This one is supposed to be the icon, so you can just look for it and simply use that value if you want. So image, you can also use your own custom image if you want, but I think there is one called danger if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, but you can just find and then use that icon, but I think danger is not the valid one. There is success, there is, I don't know if the fail is a valid one, so let me just I don't know. So you guys, you can simply go ahead in the just to keep this tutorial short, I don't want to make it extremely long. You guys can just go and find out which one to use. There is, okay, there is info, there is error. Okay, I think it's error, so I'm just going to copy the error one and then simply use it right instead of danger. It's just going to be error. Okay, so once we have that done, that's all we want to do. So yeah, so one thing I noticed is let's go ahead and actually see if this works. So let's go over here, and so we're going to go ahead and import it and replace this here with the one that we want. So we're going to say import, and you're simply going to import to do item from / to do item, just like that. So once we have this, instead of displaying hey, we're just going to delete this, and we're not going to display hey. And also notice I use here curly braces instead of just parameters, so I'm going to use the parameters right here. So we use the parameters instead, and then let me just clear this up. Just clear this up, so here, and then I'm going to clear this up just like that. So in here I'm just going to have I'm just going to display the component, or if you're going to simply display the to do component. So it's going to be to do, sorry, it's going to be to do, let me get the spelling right. So it's going to be to do item, just like that, and then we're going to go ahead and pass in two keys. So the first we need to pass in is a key, so that key can be the to do the ID of the to do, right, because the ID is going to be unique for each of those. So these are just a primary key for that to do, and then you're going to also say to do, and the to do is what you're going to be passing as a prop. We're going to be passing the prop in here, so we're going to pass in that to do that we want. So it is going to be simply to do, just like that. So once we have that done, that's all we need to do. I think I'm having some errors. It says property assigned as expected. So let me see, I don't know where that error is coming from. Let me just check it on the main page here. So let me just go back here, and then I'm going to go into my to-do list items. I don't know where that error is coming from. To do, and then we display the to do just like that. Yeah, we display to do successfully. But I think I made an error. I don't need actually to pass in this right here. I don't need this, so I can just get rid of that. Yeah, so that's the cause of the error, and now it's fixed. So now we should display the to do, each of those to dos. So we have the to do list, and which is displaying each, which contains the to do item. So now we need to display the to do list inside of our index, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and import it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say import import to do to-do lists. So I'm going to import to-do list just like that, and I'm just going to go down here just below the form. I'm just going to place that so I'm going to say to-do, sorry, this is going to be to-do list, and then just like that I can simply close it off, and it takes in the to-dos, right? So I'm going to pass in to-dos, and this is going to be the to-dos that we got from this call right here, get server side props. So we're going to get these to-dos, and you simply pass it into this component, and you're simply going to pass it into the to-do list component right here, which is going to go and hide and get it, receive it from here, and then use it, map all of them into a to-do list, and pass the to-do to the to-do item, which is going to grab it from here and then display all this content that I've explained to you already. So once we have that done, let's go ahead and see if this is going to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and simply yarn dev. So make sure your backend is already running, because mine is already running. So just run this, and we should go in the browser, and you should be able to access this page. So once the server is started up, I'm just going to go into the front end here, and I'm simply going to go do a quick refresh. So I'm just going to refresh that. Let's see what we get back. So you can see you have the to-do item being displayed right here. So I think one thing is missing. We don't have the to-do description. So there's something that is missing. So why is the cause of this thing? So let me just go and see why the to-do description is not being displayed. So I'm just going to go into the to-do item, and then here is where I'm displaying the to-do description. Okay, it's not displaying the to-do description. So let's go ahead and see why it's not displaying that. So I'm just going to go into my localhost at port 8000. So I'm going to go into the API section, and then look at why we are getting that error. We are getting the to-do description not being displayed. So I'm going to go to docs, and I'm going to try to get all the to-dos and see the different values that I have passed in. So I'm just go ahead and click on try, and then execute this. So once you get the to-do here, and you can see, okay, I have this called to do description instead of description. Okay, it's called description. I call it description instead of description. I think a typo that I made. So want to solve that typo, you can go in your API and change that, but because of time I'm just going to keep description here. That's weird, but just bear with me. So it's going to be description, and that's all we need for now. Yeah, so if I change description and also change it here to description, yeah, and let's check if it's going to work on the front end. Let's see. Okay, we have the to-do description there, but the best thing to do, go back into your API code, and then the place where you're returning the to-dos, it's called description and not description. So that should solve the error. So once we have this done, I can simply go ahead and try to complete the update, and it says to-do has been completed. Now you can see the line through that to-do. I can also go ahead and add a new to-do. So let me just say second to-do title, just like that, and then it's going to be second to do description, just like that, and I can simply click on create, and it's going to go ahead and create that to do for us. And if I can see, if it has not been loaded properly, it hasn't been loaded, so you can see the second to do has not been displayed. So let me try to refresh this and see why we are not getting that being displayed. Yeah, we have it here. I don't know why it wasn't displayed on the first run. So description, after creating the, let's just check if you're making any error in the index file. So we're uploading it this way. We are making a post request and uploading. After that we are refreshing to the main page. I don't know why it's not this, maybe it's just an error. So let's try to add another one. This is going to be third to do title, just like this, and then this is going to be third to do description, just like this, and then let me just go ahead and create that. Okay, so to do has been created, so I'm going to simply go ahead and click OK. Now you can see it has been it's showing up here. So I can just also change this value, right? So I can also change this value, so it has been completed. So you can see it has been completed right here. So I can also go ahead and try to delete. So I can just click on the delete button, and that should delete that specific to do. So you can see that to do has been deleted, and I can press OK, and it's gone. So if I click on this one, it's going to be deleted, so I'm going to press OK, and if I click on this one, it's also going to be deleted. So great. So that's the whole application, and everything was as we expected to. So the only thing you have to go ahead and do is go ahead and change from description to description, which is this part here. So you can go into your API code. I don't have my API open up right here, so let me just actually close this for now. I'm just close by VS Code, and I'm going to go inside of my terminal. Instead of my terminal, I'm going to go ahead and stop the server, clear this up, stop the server, clear up my terminal, and then go back one directory and open up Visual Studio Code again. And let me go ahead and actually change that. Okay, so I'm going to change it from description to description, because if you look in the browser, here is saying description. This way it's going to return all the to-do, so we need to solve that error. So I'm just going to bring this. I don't actually need this anymore. I can close this two up. Okay, so let's wait for Visual Studio Code to open, and then we can go ahead and fix that error. So for now, I can also make this to be full page so we can see the whole application and how it looks like. So now that I have my Visual Studio Code open up, I'm simply going to go into my backend section. I'm going to go into my routers, and then I'm going to change from this right here. So it's going to be description and not description. So delete that. Sorry for that typo. So I'm going to simply clear the save this file and then just close this app. So I'm going to close this app. So if you go back to our to-do list items, so I'm just open up the to-do list item. So it's going to be my component to-do list item. I can change back to this back to description instead of description-y. So this is going to be description right here, and also this is going to be description right here. And yeah, and that's all. We can simply go ahead and save this, and then I can go ahead and start my, so I'm going to change directory into my front end, and then I can simply do a yarn dev just like that, run this on this. So this will actually now start the development server. Make sure that your backend server is running. So let's check on if it's running. Yeah, it is running. So make sure also your backend is running, and also your front end has been started. So let's wait for the front end to get started. So once my front end is already started, I can just go back in here, and then you can simply do a refresh, and everything should work as expected. So in here, I can simply go ahead and add a description, simple to do. Let's test if it works, and then we can end this tutorial. So I can add in here to do. Let me just see this window. Page is refreshed. I can just see everything out. So this, we will say this is the first to do description. This is the first to do description, just like that. And I can simply make a post this. So I'm going to create that to do, and assuming the to do has been created, I can to do description, just like that. And I can simply make a post this. So I'm going to create that to do, and assuming the to do has been created, I can press OK, and you can see we have that to do here. So I can to do has been created, I can press OK, and you can see we have that to do here. So I can also complete this to do, and I can just press OK. So it doesn't actually pass the mark through. So let me click that again. So it has passed the mark through. Sometimes you have to click it twice. I don't know. I haven't solved that error yet, but for now we can just skip over that. So it has been completed, and I can also go ahead and delete the different to do. If I want, I can delete the to do just like that. So the API works. The back end works as expected. The front end also works as expected. So combining the two is how you build a full stack application. And I hope this tutorial has helped you to learn something about how to build a full stack application, how to build an API, and how to use your API to make different. How to use a front end, also to build a front end, and use a front end to make a request to your API. So basically, how to build a communication line between your front end and your back end. So in this tutorial, we have learned FastAPI, React, Nextjs, and you also learn how to use Redis with FastAPI. So if you enjoyed this tutorial so far, please kindly like the video, share this content with anyone who you think might find this helpful, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.